If you're ever camping alone in the forest, if you ever hear animal sounds that are not quite right at night, you get up and leave. Because if they're getting close to you and they don't want you to hear human sounds, they'll start communicating in animal voices. There's a few guys that were out there and they started hearing like sounds that were just a little bit off. You know, you hear like a laughing falcon sound and he was like, that doesn't actually sound like a... And then he heard the capuchins from different areas, and usually capuchin monkeys are going to be all together in one spot. And he heard it from different directions, and he was just like, he said he climbed into the river and crawled like a turtle out of that. He said he went for hours and just to escape. I can't believe that we lost this video, but this guy had a video when they had made contact and the tribe was there and they had their arrows and they're pointing their arrows across the beach, and the guys in the community are trying to send them a canoe filled with bananas because they're like, look, we're friends, and they're trying to make an offering, like stop the killing. So they tried to send them a thing, and you can hear the tribes and they're talking using monkey calls, and we know what a capuchin monkey sounds like, but they're using these calls in the video on the beach and they're like communicating with each other.
Nothing scares me like Appalachia. So this Thanksgiving, Paige Hills was meeting her boyfriend's family for the first time in Appalachia. And basically, immediately upon driving into the area, she starts getting a bad feeling. She chalks it up to nerves, but it keeps getting worse that night. The family was all having dinner inside, but there was a window open. And Paige starts to hear whistling coming from the woods through the window. She doesn't really think anything of it because maybe someone was outside smoking, but that night the whistling comes back, louder. And on top of that, it sounds like someone is saying her name over and over and over again. So she goes to the window to see what's up, and there's just two red eyes staring back at her from the woods. The next morning at breakfast, she asked the family what that could have been, and they immediately looked like they saw a ghost. They told her to never speak of it ever again, and the next time she hears something, no she didn't. So Paige is freaked out, but she has another night in the house. And that's when her boyfriend pulls her aside to show her this photo. This is what their trail cam caught the night before, and she was to never mention it again.
If you hear a noise like this, don't move. Stay where you are. The rest of this video is truly frightening, but before I show it to you, I must warn you. I can only protect my subscribers who have liked and shared this video. This is the story of a young girl named Marie who lived in an old house with her older brother. They had always lived peaceful moments until things began to change. Strange noises, objects moving around without explanation, and barely perceptible whispers coming from the bottom of the stairs. One evening, while their parents were out, Marie heard a strange noise coming from the ground floor. Curious, she was about to go downstairs, but her brother, without hesitation, picked her up in his arms and quickly led her to their room. The noises seemed to become louder and more frightening, as if something or someone was trying to come up, but something wasn't right. Watch what follows.
World's most dangerous serial killer iceberg. This picture contains a list of serial killers from the least disturbing to the most. With all of this talk going on about Jeffrey Dahmer, I thought it would be interesting to go over a couple serial killer cases that the media didn't even want you to see. As always, the disturbing details are posted in the Discord in the bio. This is Dennis Nilsen, or also known as the Kindly Killer. The first victim of Dennis was a 14-year-old boy named Stephen Holmes, who he met at a local pub. He invited Stephen to his new house and he wanted to drink together in order to celebrate the new year. The two eventually drank themselves to sleep, but when Dennis woke up in the morning, he realized that Stephen was still sleeping. Fearing that Stephen would leave him, he strangled him and then drowned him in a bucket that was in the kitchen. He then took his camera out and started taking pictures of the boy, and the most disturbing part about this is he would set the boy's body up to watch television with him. Then once the show was finished, he would take the boy, wrap him back up in the plastic bags, and stick him under the floorboard. Eventually, once the body started to decompose, he would then boil the hands, head, and feet, and everything else he would flush down the toilet. Dennis ended up murdering at least 12 people within a span of 5 years. If you want to see some more disturbing details about this case, click the link in the bio to join the Discord, and make sure to like and follow for part 2 tomorrow.
Something really scary happened to me. I don't want this to happen to anybody else. I opened my Snapchat for the first time in a long time, and I saw that I had a new friend named Al. I don't know an Al. I haven't added an Al. I messaged Al and I said, "Who is this?" And he said, "Hey, it's my Al. How are you doing?" Off the bat, he has poor grammar. So I messaged him again. I say, "How did you get my Snapchat?" And he said, "I'm sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable. You added me as a friend on Snapchat." Believe me when I say I did not add Al on Snapchat. I don't know an Al. I'm literally shaking thinking about this. So I said, no, I didn't. I didn't add you on Snapchat. And he said, I'm sorry, I must have been mistaken. Maybe we have mutual friends. And I said, you added me on Snapchat, you're a liar. And then he gaslights me, trying to make me think that I added him. I'm really lucky that I'm not stupid or gullible, or I could have fallen for his tricks. So I asked Al, I said, did you hack my Snapchat? And he said, no, I didn't hack your Snapchat account. If you're concerned about the security of your account, you can contact Snapchat support to report any suspicious activity. So I reported him. He's literally trying to manipulate me into trusting him. Then I go to block him and I can't. I swear he hacked my Snapchat. Please tag Snapchat. We need to get to the bottom of this.
3 pictures hiding a chilling reality. Part 3. The third picture is terrifying. Number 1. Just another ordinary diving photo? The body in the background is that of Tina Watson, who was just killed by her husband Gabe. For their honeymoon, they decided to take a diving trip to Australia. However, this honeymoon tragically ended when Tina was found dead during their first dive. Gabe cut off the young bride's oxygen underwater, and then surfaced as if nothing had happened. Number 2. A photo of a journalist in a submarine? Kim Wall would be found in several pieces a few days later. Kim Wall, a Swedish freelance journalist, was tragically murdered in August 2017 while conducting an interview with inventor Peter Madsen on his homemade submarine. A few days after this interview, her dismembered body was discovered in the open sea. Number 3. Before you go on, remember to subscribe for more videos. A simple selfie at a teenager's party? In fact, Tyler Hadley, on the right in the picture, had just killed his parents. Tyler Hadley, a 17-year-old from Florida, killed his 2 parents with a hammer in 2011 before hosting a party at his house. The disfigured corpses remained hidden on the first floor of the house while Tyler's friends played beer pong. During the party, he revealed his crime to one of his friends, who subsequently alerted the police.
Jakub! There's someone standing! There is no one, Jakub! Oh my god! Mom! Nothing, Jakub. Oh my god. Give me that food. Oh my... Nothing, Jakub. Nothing. It's nothing. Mom! What is this? Oh my god! What the hell is that locking door? No, it's okay. Get out there.
You guys remember the scary story of the demon in the mirror? There was a little girl and her mom who had just moved into a house. Now the little girl would always pee in her new bed because she would be too busy watching cartoons right before bed. And the mom kept having to tell her to go to the bathroom before she went to sleep. But every time the little girl would go, she would run crying, terrified out the bathroom, saying there was a little girl in the mirror. She kept saying the little girl was telling her to come, but she would never actually do it. Now the mom didn't believe this at all. She's like, yo, you just don't want to go to the bathroom at night. You want to stay watching your cartoons because kids got wild imaginations. Now this is where things get a little too crazy. The mom kept trying to make her go to the bathroom before she went to bed, but she kept refusing, telling her mom that the little girl was going to get her. So this time she decided to pick her daughter up and forcefully put her in the bathroom, which is understandable because the mom was tired of cleaning sheets every morning. The mom tossed her in the bathroom, closed the door, and would not let go of the doorknob. For about 10 to 15 minutes, the daughter was screaming and kicking in the bathroom, scratching at the door, punching it, kicking it, all of that, until it suddenly stopped. The mother, thinking finally she used the bathroom, decides to open the door and say, see, look how easy this is. But as she opened the door, she saw the most gruesome sight. Her daughter was hardly mutilated and unalive. She had huge claw marks on her, like she had been ripped to shreds. There was no way a human was capable of doing the damage that it had done. But police needed someone to blame, so they arrested the mom and sentenced her to life in prison. Till this day, the mom claims her innocence, saying that it must have been the demon in the mirror.
This is one of the most disgusting, disturbing, and terrifying comics I've ever seen. It's called Glyceride by Junji Ito, and it's about a family living above a barbecue shop. Disclaimer, this story is very extreme and not for the faint of heart. So the main character Yui and her brother live above the barbecue shop that their father owns. And because there's constantly oil being used, the entire house smells like grease. And soon her brother starts developing a very strange habit. He starts drinking bottles and bottles of cooking oil. And eventually he ends up growing these oil-filled blisters all over his body. But here's where it gets really disturbing. One day he runs out of oil to drink and orders Yui to go get more. And when she refuses, her brother pins her down and squeezes his face. And everything, I mean everything in there, falls onto her. I don't even know if I can show that panel because it's so disgusting, and do not look it up if you have trypophobia. But if you think that's the end of the story, it's not, it gets worse. Because the dad, the one who owns the barbecue shop, uses a frying pan to unalive the brother, and then serves him to the customers at the barbecue shop. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Yui starts feeling really sick. And that's when she finds out her father has been secretly feeding her oil while she was asleep, so she can end up just like her brother. But when again she refuses to drink it, her father has to find another way to provide for the customers at the shop. And at this point, their entire house is filled with grease. Even the ceiling is dripping with grease. And one day Yui finds her father drinking bottles of oil as he's cooking something. And as she looks down, she realizes it's his own leg. And instead of, it's just oil coming out. Follow for more stories.
Did you know The Hills Have Eyes was based on a real family? This is a warning. History was a very dark place, and if you've got a squeamish stomach or you just can't handle that kind of stuff, then I would recommend you probably just keep scrolling. Sawney Bean was a man who lived in the late 15th century and was a tanner by trade. He later moved to Ayrshire, Scotland, I really hope I'm saying that right, once he married his wife. Now for some weird reason, him and his wife decided that they were going to make their new home inside a cave. This cave had tunnels leading out of it that actually stretched to a mile long. For a while, they didn't make very much money, so her husband actually started robbing people that would come by the trail near their cave. At first, that seems pretty simple enough. There were lots of villages that were close by and roads that actually frequently connected the villages, so there were people that passed by a lot. But this actually ended up getting him a little worried, and he thought that if he wasn't more careful, people would start to be able to trace the crime back to him. So, how does he solve this problem? Well, he starts to murder them. But then there came the problem of what to do with the bodies. So he has another brilliantly twisted idea and decides, well, why not just eat them? So he and his wife started to eat all of these people that he would end up robbing. And as time passed, they ended up actually having children of their own. In total, they had 14 children, and they raised these children on the same diet that they had. If that wasn't disturbing enough, as their children started to grow older, they started to mate with each other. This went on for 2 decades. The missing persons case that resulted from this literally is the longest list of missing person cases that the authorities have ever had. Massive search parties were going off for the people that had been going missing, but nobody seemed to make it to this cave. Until one day this family made a grave mistake. The Bean family, which now consisted of multiple generations, decided to attack this couple, and by the time they got to the husband, a bunch of people were actually returning back from the village fair, and for the first time ever, they were actually outnumbered. When this case went to authorities, it actually was so severe that King James I himself came down to this area and actually brought a small army of 400 men. And with that started the largest manhunt that Scotland has ever seen. But at first, they still couldn't find them until finally some tracker dogs tracked down their scent at the entrance to their family cave. King James's small army fought the family, and there were actually now 48 of them. Their crimes were so horrible that the king himself sentenced them to death. In the span of 25 years, the Bean family killed 1,000 people. This has honestly got to be one of the craziest stories that I think I've ever fell upon. I bet the next time you watch that movie, you're gonna have a whole different feeling.
The person that replaced you was the scariest person we've ever met. I lived in this commune in California for a bit. It's like a fun, like creative commune type thing.
Like a hostel.
It's like a hostel house. My 2 friends I live with, they're still friends of mine. I really like those guys, and they came and visited me a few months later, and I was like, oh, yo, who took my place? We were sleeping in my room. They both sat up, and they're like, I can't believe we haven't told you this. When I moved out, they had to fill my bed, and apparently that bed was filled with this like little Asian girl. She started off kind of normal and sweet, and then she started to like say like, oh, there's bad energy, and she started like saging their room. She starts saging the yard, and then she starts saging the common areas. This is a big compound.
Yeah, massive. It
goes to a psychic or something, and the psychic says the bad energy isn't around you. The bad energy is you.
Whoa.
She stops sleeping. She stops like cleaning herself, and she starts going into like a psychosis. And my two friends were pretty big dudes, pretty big guys that live there, and they're like, "Yo, I was terrified of this girl. Now she's not cleaning herself. Now she's not sleeping. She's standing in the yard all night." Dude. Just standing and not moving. If you tried to like go grab her, she would shuffle. She wouldn't walk. She would put her feet like this, and she'd shuffle. And she would only move in like straight
90-degree lane.
So then they're starting to look up like, why is she shuffling? They're freaking out. And the top thing is, demons can only move in straight lines. They saw that and they're like, she's a demon. She's a demon. You know, she starts pissing herself in the yard.
Oh my god.
Like the owner of the place, she's just like trying to like shock this girl out of it. So she just walks up to her and just sprays her in the face with the hose and like, yo, you're freaking out all my other tenants.
Yeah.
They're like manually take her and put her in the room. And then my friends are like, we didn't want her in the room. Like, this girl's crazy. And one of my friends goes to the bathroom at night. She's awake, standing in the room.
Stop, bro.
And he's like, whatever. And so he's like, this girl's still awake, standing in the corner, like so annoying. Goes to the bathroom. She hadn't moved in like a day. And he opens it and she's standing there. Freaks out because he's like, I haven't seen her move in hours, but when I went to the bathroom, she went and stood outside the door at 2 a.m. And then she shuffles away back to her spot. She's got like hair in front of her face. She's looking like the Grudge girl.
No way. No.
This friend is like a big dude. And he's sleeping. And he's like, I hear the other guy leave for work. Like in my head, I kind of woke up from that. He's like, she's in here. It's just me and her. And he's like, as I'm thinking about that, she's in here, I might get up and like maybe go sleep somewhere else. She pokes his back with her finger, like this, just kind of like it on his spine. No. Hey, like that, but doesn't say anything. Just poke, and he jumps, freaks out, turns, and he's like, what? Why'd you poke me like that? I'll never forget this. He's like, she looked at my face and she said, I don't think you're safe in this room alone with me. And he goes, I think you're right. And he just grabs his blankets and pillows and just bounces. If I was there and that girl was doing that, I would have Karen'd it. I would have made a fuss. I would be like, she's leaving today. She's not moving. I'm literally, she's saging the whole place. She's leaving today.
Dude, what?
Creepiest things kids have ever said. A man's mother passed away in a car accident when he was 6. When his 2-year-old daughter saw a picture of her grandmother for the first time, she laughed. He asked, what was so funny? And she looked at him and said, that's my special friend who sings to me. A man's 3-year-old daughter stood next to her newborn brother and looked at him for a while, then turned back to her dad and said, Daddy, it's a monster. We should bury it. A woman and her 4-year-old son were waiting for their food at Panera. The son started rubbing her belly and talking to it. She asked what he was doing, and he said that he was talking to the baby. She informed him that she was not pregnant, and then he said, there is a baby in your belly. I just saw it crawl across the floor and climb up into you. A woman's 5-year-old asked her when he was going to be 23 years old. She told him in 18 years. He replied, well, I hope I don't die again, because that's how old I was last time I went to heaven. A family moved into a new furnished apartment with an unsettling painting in one of the bedrooms that looked like hair free-flowing in the air. The 2-year-old son was being settled in for his daily nap when he suddenly said he didn't want to sleep in that room. Mom asked why, and he said, the painting looks at me and tries to talk to me. A woman drove past a cemetery with her 3-year-old daughter in the back seat every day. The 3-year-old would tell her the people in there would wave to her. This went on for a while until the woman stopped driving past the cemetery forever, when the daughter said a lady in there wanted her to come in. A 4-year-old girl would spend every day with her great-grandmother, and every time she went home, she would say, God be with you. One time when she was leaving, she said, go with God. Her mom tried to correct her, but she said it again. That night, her great-grandmother passed away. A woman's 3-year-old son was softly singing while he was coloring. She had never heard the song before, and she asked him where he'd learned it. He said, the lady in my bedroom sang it to me. A woman's mother was babysitting her daughter while she was at a doctor's appointment. The daughter said, oh no, Grandma, Mama's not coming anymore today. She was in a bad accident. The mother had been in an accident that almost killed her, and none of the family had yet to be notified. A woman was sound asleep when she was awoken by her 4-year-old in the middle of the night. She looked right into her eyes and whispered, "I want to peel all your skin off." The woman had been sunburned recently and was starting to peel, but it's still absolutely terrifying. A family was driving down a dark, snowy highway late one evening. The son, who was 4 years old, was in the back seat when he suddenly covered his face with a blanket and announced loudly, "I don't want to get glass on my face." A few moments later, 2 cars in front of them crashed into each other, spinning out of control. Fortunately, the family avoided the incident and glass in their face. A woman's young daughter once asked if she could share her breakfast in bed with a dead baby in her closet. The mom thought she meant one of her dolls, so she went to pull one out. Until the daughter quickly said, "No, not a doll, the dead one that sleeps on the closet floor at night." The mom found her 4-year-old daughter in the bathroom with all of her Barbies, making them float face down in the bathtub. When mom asked what she was doing, she replied, "The man in the wardrobe told me if I didn't do it, it would be my turn to swim face down." A family had a cat that had stillborn kittens. The 3-year-old son asked if they could make crosses for them. As he was making them, he asked his dad, "Aren't those too small?" "What do you mean?" And he said, "Aren't we going to nail them to them?" Dad, after several moments of silence, said, We're not gonna do that."
I was forced to stay awake for 30 days straight. They call it the Russian sleep experiment. They put 5 of us into a room and released a gas. That made it impossible to go to sleep. We were all captured war prisoners. They were studying us to see what would happen to a human if they stay awake for 30 days. Day 1 everything seemed fine. We were promised freedom after we completed the experiment. But as the days went by, our conversations grew darker. Paranoia took hold, tearing us apart. On day 9, one of us started screaming uncontrollably until his vocal cords gave out. The rest of us smeared our own feces over the glass so they couldn't see us. On the 15th day, they needed to know what was happening. They turned off the gas and opened the doors. They were not ready for the horrific scene they were about to walk into, flesh torn. We consumed our own bodies, desperate to stay awake. We didn't want to leave anymore. We begged them to turn the gas back on, but they refused to help us. Somehow we were able to survive all this, but we knew it would be the end when we fell asleep. Remember us, remember our torment.
Photos with terrifying backstories. The Dutch Girls of Panama. In this picture there are 2 girls, Chris Kremers and Lisanne Froon. They were Dutch travelers, and on the 1st of April they were hiking the El Pianista Trail. The day after, their parents hadn't heard from them. On April 6th a full police search began, and lasted for 10 days but nothing was found. 10 weeks later, a lady found a backpack and handed it in. It was Lisanne's. Inside the bag was their phone and camera. Their phone showed they had tried to call the emergency number. On the camera there were 90 photos that were taken in the pitch black. One picture showed the back of Lisanne's head with blood in her hair. 2 months after the backpack was handed in, a pelvis and foot were found. DNA confirmed it was the 2 girls. What happened to them still remains a mystery.
Creepy video on YouTube of this man. Look at this video.
We got kind of tired of the mall and I brought her back to my place. And I know she hates cameras, Walter, but I'm gonna show you around anyway. You ready?
Then goes to his basement, opens the door, and reveals a girl screaming. She's locked up. And you have to realize, when people was looking at this video, they didn't automatically expect Kayla. They forgot about her in a way because it's been years. But when certain people seen this video in the town, saying it's Kayla.
You thought this was your daughter?
I sincerely, honestly thought that was my daughter in that day.
So the mom is looking at this video. She's trying to really, because it's her daughter. She knows her daughter. And she's saying that, this is possibly highly my daughter. All right, so now as I'm watching this video, I see this YouTube channel and he gave like a clue in his video when this guy was talking. As you can see, the guy's talking in the video and there's like this purse in a Ziploc bag. And they believe that this is Kayla Berg's book bag, purse. Not only that, a lot of people is believing that who is this guy and what is he doing with Kayla? And they do investigations.
confirming that a body found.
The body of a woman reported missing late last year has been found.
No one had seen or heard from Lauren Giddings.
Anybody could have been the killer.
We call it the smell of death. Only a monster could do something like that.
And Lauren isn't even answering texts.
A girl named Lauren decided to lock herself in and focus and study, focus on her career. She tells her family this. Her family was like, okay, good. But her classmates, as time passed, noticed they didn't see Lauren at all.
A friend of ours texted me asking when's the last time I had heard from Lauren.
She didn't study at the library with them. She always studied at the library. She wasn't there. So one of the classmates called her and texted her. No answer. One of the classmates then gets worried, so she tells the sister, hey, is your sister okay? I haven't been hearing from her. I'm kind of worried. Is she good? The sister said, oh yeah. She said she was going to lock herself in and study. Everything is perfectly fine, right? One of the classmates hearing this knew in the back of their head that something ain't right. She's worried. As time passes, she keeps calling her and texting her and calling her, but no answer. She then calls the police and say, my friend, I'm very worried of her. Her name's Lauren. Can you go to her house? Here's her address and check up on her, please, for me? One of the police gladly goes check up on her house, knocks on the door. No answer. Goes around, check the windows, no signs of break-ins. All the windows are sealed. He can't physically go inside the house until they file a missing persons report, so he leaves. As time goes by, still no texts from Lauren back, no calls from Lauren back, and she still doesn't pick up. The family then gets worried and files a missing police report.
After a break-in at their home in Portsmouth in Southwest Houston.
The homeowners had left for work. Their teenage daughter, though, was home.
Texted her mom and she said, are you home? The mother said, no, still with your dad. What's up? She said, I heard someone come in. The house? Is Peter home? I don't know. I've been in my room. I don't think so because he was supposed to work till 12 tonight, 12 a.m. Are you sure you heard the door then? Question mark. Now, at this point, Emily know that she heard somebody. She's 100% positive that somebody is in her house downstairs right now. So, she know that her parents, they wasn't coming home so soon yet. So she tried to text her mom to hurry up and make sure her mom not home. Peter working home until night. I guess that's her brother. Somebody's downstairs. Let's see what happens. Emily says, Mom, there's someone in the house. What? Who is it? Mom, I don't know. There's some man walking around downstairs. Mom, I'm scared. What do? I can't lie. Immediately, what I would do, I would lock the door, open up that window, get on the roof, and just stay on the roof. So, listen to what the mother said. Emily, find somewhere to hide right now. I'm calling the police. Lock your door right now. Hide somewhere in your room, okay? Okay, I'm in the closet. The closet? And the mom don't make it any better. She said, okay, good, sweetie. I'm on the phone with the police. Don't make any noise at all. Stay in the closet until you hear the police come inside the house. Now, what's wrong with this is simply your door lock. He knows you in there. It's only really 2 spots you can hide in your room, under the bed or in the closet. That's why I gave y'all behind that pillow method. Hide behind your pillows on the bed. You camouflage. That's why I say keep your door unlocked, because someone was to walk in your room. They check in the closet, under the bed. They're not going to check behind the pillows. They're going to think no one's even in the room. If I lock the door, I'm leaving the house, going on the roof, or running away from outside the window. I'm locking the door because I don't want them to take none of my things. Maybe they just can't unlock it. Emily said, she replies back with, okay. The mom said, do you still hear him? Mom, he's trying to open the door. Emily, please just be quiet. You're going to be okay. The police are almost there. Emily, they no longer text back and forth. So something must have happened. Now, what happened that night when Emily stopped replying to her mother is when that man came inside and she knew a man was inside. And when he walked up to her door, maybe he heard her as she was replying to her mom. And when he was fidgeting with the door, he knew it was locked. He was trying to break down the door, but couldn't. During that moment of him trying to break down the door, she was too scared to reply. Like, she didn't want to make any noise at all. Luckily, the man could not get inside the room, and the police arrived. When the police arrived, that man was gone. This guy was just an intruder, wanting to steal some things in their house. Maybe he was walking down the street, they had their blinds open and he seen something he wanted. Or maybe they just look rich.